Splash alert, friends. We've seen Jesus call his fishing buddies to be his very first disciples. Now, they're heading out on some amazing adventures together, starting with a really scary storm out on the sea. This Bible story shows just how powerful Jesus is, even over nature, and it teaches us that we can trust him, especially when times get tough. This story comes from the books of Mark, Matthew, and Luke in the Bible. Hold on tight, let's ride these waves together. One evening, after a very long day of teaching, huge crowds of people, all about God's kingdom, Jesus was super tired. He looked at his disciples and said, "Let's cross over to the other side of the Sea of Galilee." So, they all climbed into a boat and started to sail away from the shore. There were even a few other little boats that decided to follow along with them. As they were sailing across a big lake, Jesus found a soft cushion in the back part of the boat, the stern, and he fell fast asleep. He was really pooped from all that teaching. Now, remember, his disciples like Peter, Andrew, James, and John were expert fishermen. They had spent their whole lives on this sea, so they knew it like the back of their hands. The water was calm, the stars were probably starting to peek out, and everything felt peaceful. But then, suddenly, everything changed. Dark, heavy clouds rolled in super fast, blocking out the sky. A huge storm blew up out of nowhere. Fierce winds started to howl and whistle, and giant, angry waves began to crash over the sides of their little boat. Water started pouring in, filling it up fast. Glug, glug, glug. The disciples were terrified. Even these tough, experienced fishermen, who had seen plenty of storms before, thought their boat was going to sink for sure. They were in big trouble, and they knew it. The disciples scrambled around the boat, trying to get the water out, but the storm was just too strong. They were panicking. They looked over and saw Jesus, still sleeping peacefully in the back. They rushed over to him, shaking him awake and shouting, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown? Save us. We're going to sink." They were so scared and couldn't understand how Jesus could sleep through such a dangerous storm. Jesus slowly opened his eyes and saw the wild chaos all around him. The crashing waves, the howling wind, and the terrified faces of his friends. Jesus didn't panic. He calmly got up. He stood strong in the rocking boat, looked right at the storm, and spoke to the wind and the waves. He commanded them, saying, "Quiet, be still." And just like that, like magic, the wind stopped howling. The giant waves stopped crashing. Everything became completely calm and peaceful again. The sea was as smooth as glass. It was an incredible miracle! He didn't use a special tool or a magic wand. He just used his words. His powerful words stopped the whole storm in an instant. The disciples just stood there, completely stunned. Their jaws dropped. The water was still sloshing around their ankles, but the scary storm was gone. They looked at each other with wide, amazed eyes and started whispering, "Who is this? Who is this man?" Even the wind and the waves obey him. In that moment, they started to understand something amazing. Jesus wasn't just a great teacher or a good man. He had power over all of creation because he is God's Son. They were filled with awe, realizing they were in the presence of someone truly special and powerful. So let's recap that wild ride. The day started with Jesus teaching. Then he and his friends got into a boat. Jesus fell asleep, and a massive, scary storm hit. The disciples freaked out, thinking they were going to sink. They woke Jesus up, yelling for help. And what did Jesus do? He stood up and told the storm, "Quiet, be still." And poof, the storm was gone. Jesus calmed the storm to show his friends and to show us that they could always trust him no matter what happens. Sometimes we have storms in our own lives, right? Maybe it's a worry about school, a problem with a friend, or feeling scared about something. Those can feel like big, scary storms. But this story shows us that Jesus is always with us, saying, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." What a wild boat adventure. Jesus showed his disciples that he has power over everything, and he can bring peace to any scary situation. The next time you feel like you're in a storm, when you're worried or afraid, you can call on Jesus. He's listening, and he will bring his peace into your heart. Thanks for joining our adventure today. Join us next time for more amazing miracles with Jesus. See you soon, Storm Surfers. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. God bless you.